dominant, most likely. While we are looking at this wonderful plane going straight into game number 5 of the day, greetings to our production and also to the admins behind the scenes, because this has been an amazing day so far when it comes to getting into those games perfectly on time. I would like to pick it up on a point that you just left off, trying to make an explanation why certain players that are really, really good constantly usually are the ones throwing the most nades and smokes. Because I think it actually comes with a certain skill that simply not every competitor has. And that is being on top of your game mentally at all moments in the game. Even on a level of this, and even on a level higher than this, you will find a lot of players that somewhere, somehow during a game will switch the autopilot mode on. And that is the moment where you get eliminated while you're still holding 4 smokes, 3 nades, 2 molotovs whatsoever. And the best of the best, they always have the ability to take a step back and to think, all right, what are the 3 to 4 solutions that I have for this situation and which one is the best? And so many times utility actually is a really good one of those, which is something that other players simply don't think about. And that's why we have those players that somehow always survive 2, 3, 4 minutes longer using their utility in a wise way, while we have so many players, even on this level, well, that get taken out with a full belt of nades.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Even though I listened, I couldn't help but get excited for Miramar. I couldn't get excited for Miramar because honestly, I feel like with 10 teams, that's something I've never seen before. Even the recent, fairly recent IESF qualifiers that have been so far up until this point, I think a 10-team lobby has not been something that I've seen. And Miramar especially, I think that's going to be extra interesting. There's even less third-party potential in my opinion. There's even more opportunity to take isolated fights. And that in turn should, in theory, I don't know how it's going to happen, but that in turn, in theory, should give an advantage to the more fighting heavy and also experienced teams that we have at the top right now, which is Bahrain, which is Mongolia, which also is Kazakhstan. So do be reminded, my prediction so far is that Kazakhstan is going to win at least one round of day 1, and I think it is going to be Miramar. So we have them here. Remind my words, I might be wrong, obviously I can be, but if I am, I do want applause.
I think you're right. I think you're right, and I'm gonna try to actually steelman your case right now, because map control and making tiny mistakes in terms of how you're positioned on the map is a little less important on Miramar. It's still an incredibly important skill. It's still incredibly important to do it really well, but in terms of rotating pixel perfect precisely to the exact same spot at the same time with all your teammates right close to you, it's not as important on this map because usually there are more positions to be taken. So if you make a tiny mistake and you almost drive into someone, you have another ridge 20 meters further away and you can just take that one, which is not the case on Erringle. On Erringle, there are these points where you can simply take a whole square kilometer, you can just control it and nobody could ever rotate past you or into you without you taking 1 or 2 of those players out. That is not the case on this map, at least not in every single position of the map. So I agree, if there's a map that Kazakhstan can take down, given the issues that they've had previously, it would be Miramar.
Couldn't agree more. As we see Tajikistan picking up the first 2 frags in this one. It is Jobobo. We've talked about Tajikistan to begin with. A rather unexperienced lineup, and a lineup that has been changed as well, coming in from the Tajikistan qualifier. We originally expected Lottenhart and Golden to be there. We do have them, Mites as well. Just Jodobo is surprising to me. I thought Quarry was going to be there, or maybe even the coach, Sataya, but apparently it is Jodobo. I'll have to wait and see whether or not that changes in the remaining day that they have. But for today, I don't expect there to be any more changes. I don't think they're allowed to.
It also seems to have been a good decision, right? Seems to have been a good decision in this map, at least with those 2 eliminations that they got quickly.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't want to only look at results, obviously, but still, nice start to the game. Also had a really nice set of wheels for this map with his monster truck that he previously drove. He switched for the buggy now.
Oh, yes.
He had a beautiful, beautiful, huge car. Let's take a look at the map.
Never argue with success.
Let's take a look at the map and have a look at where players and teams are currently positioned. We have Kazakhstan with a beautiful situation to pick it up where we left it, because they have so much room free ahead of them and they can play from high ground to high ground to high ground to scout spot, which many teams are good at in this lobby, but I think Kazakhstan should be one of the better ones, where they just simply perfectly place their vehicles every single time and then just go from hilltop to hilltop, and that's what they want to do from the west here. While we have a couple of teams, Palestine ahead of all of them, going for those center spots, looking for those strong compounds, and that one crossroads, like T crossroads compound that their first player, I can't really see who it is, has taken. That is just such a good compound, right dead center in the first circle. Is it Jordan actually and not Palestine? God damn it.
Look, I just wanted to say I think it is.
Yeah, Palestine is all the way up north. All right. Yeah, it was Jordan.
Yes. So for anyone out there trying to put this on us, I dare you to to do this without reading the players' names. At this point, I think with that small map that we've seen, I think you're excused. I think that is almost impossible. But either way, we have the first team rotating on in from northern side as well. Actually, both of these teams, Mongolia and Bahrain, the two reigning 1 and 2s at the overall standings, will be rotating in and coming in. I'm surprised we see such... Okay, I'll take it all back. Give me a second. Neos is jumping out of his vehicle. Oh my lord, he takes down Alex. UMP in hand, and fear is just nothing this guy knows. He does get traded out, and that might be a problem because he's on the other side of the road while all the rest of his players are on the west side of it. And look at this. Neos now all open inside two of the Mongolia players. And sure, Alex has been taken down, but it doesn't even matter because Zayol is getting the flush as opposed to Alex. He can still get rest. And look at this. His teammates have perfect cover for him. But Rain might just lose a player for absolutely nothing.
And while this would be the most horrible Hollywood script for an awesome Oscar-winning movie, where you simply don't want Neo and Mr. Anderson to face off in the first 2 minutes, it's amazing to see it right now. It's so great to see these two heavy hitters battling it out in the first minutes of this map. Bahrain might actually end up just driving away, because I don't see much more to be won here. If Frizzer can actually take a knock from the sidelines, they might actually go for it. I would still love to see it. I just don't think it's that smart. Both teams could actually just opt out of this fight, and it would be perfectly understandable. Zyle actually throwing himself some smokes to get away. Is there a chase going on? No, I think it's just coincidence. No, it's actually a chase. It's actually a car chase. They want to go for these shots.
Oh my god, are you kidding me? Oh, and look at this. He even hit some pretty good shots. Pre-pod, we were just talking about him. We didn't expect him to come out swinging like he has so far, and yeah, does Prizes gonna take him down? I thought he did, but he was reloading. How the hell did that happen? If we took a look at the kill feed, yeah, he has been taken out. So Demo, problem. A second problem, actually. After Alex, second big problem for Mongolia. Question is, and that's the interesting part, I don't think they would have fought if they would have known who was on the other side.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me that Neos is going to exit his vehicle in the middle of nowhere if he doesn't know that that's Mongolia. Because that's literally the only team that you don't need to fight. You don't need to take down the second place if you're on the top two already. That's the one team you can just, you know, put to the side and let them do their thing as long as you do yours. So that makes it extra interesting. On the other hand, you said it before, as a viewer, you can all go and scream as loud as you can because that's the most perfect scenario ever. If you have the top two teams fighting at the beginning of match 4, at the beginning of match 5, it doesn't get better than this.
Perfect point. It's sometimes hard to avoid, obviously, but even though that is not allowed and we don't want to see it, the best thing that Bahrain and Mongolia could be doing could be turning into some sort of a gentleman's agreement, just hunting rank 3 and 4 the entire time. And they would almost guarantee themselves spots. That's obviously impossible to do because every team is going to be in a different position based on every map and every plane path on every map and so on. But still, fighting against each other just opens up the gates for other teams to actually catch you in your process of making it to the main tournament.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So very interesting to see that all these teams, very obviously, not gonna have a problem with continuing to fight this. And also, look, they knew it was gonna be Mongolia, and they still tried to catch them. That's the crazy part. Despite them knowing they didn't stop at all, Bahrain still continued to put pressure on Mongolia, even after that first initial knock. And that's the kind of confidence that you need, that they are not putting off, despite them, once again, being the only team that they don't need to necessarily fight. Let's go back to Tajikistan. With Jodo Ball finding the first 2 frags in this match. That might just be a good omen, but he has to be careful. As you can see, Jordan, not to be confused with Palestine, flag-wise, is just above them on the hill. And if they are not careful enough, a good spray, maybe from 1 or 2 of his teammates together, could just secure them a knock here. It is a big distance, though. And none of these teams really have any need to move. There it is. Ooh, if you would have had a teammate there, that would have surely been a knock.
Almost. The confidence of staying prone there for such a long time is also quite admirable, to be honest. I would always be scared to be knocked from like 200 meters away on the next hill. But Clever was quite certain that he could stay prone and go for those amazing shots. Managed to almost get the knock. At the same time, that's a knock that you will pretty certainly never be able to flush. But if you have nothing else to do, why not weaken a team that you will likely fight again in the later stages of the game, given how close they are to you right now? So I love it. Making the best out of every second is the key to success in this sport. And apparently, we've had a shift that forced Jordan to rotate once again. Once we have a look at that, we will see how many opportunities they actually have to rotate and what the teams will be that they will face on their way.
Ooh. Okay, Tajikistan, they want to get into the heat, chasing Lebanon just down towards the southern side. Needs to be careful, though. There's another team in the distance, and that's, I do believe, Jordan still. As the shots are raining in. First knock goes the way of Tajikistan, if I saw that correctly. No, never mind. Goes the way of Lebanon. Altuhad gets taken down as Gringo is being found as well. So I do believe it is a 1-1 trade. Tajikistan still being put into a very bad spot. That is a good breach, but I'm not sure if it was worth it. But I also think they couldn't have known that Jordan was right behind them.
Yeah,
so
that is...
I understand.
I agree. Very, very bad spot. You could also call it death trap. They are so in the open, with angles of so many teams onto them. And I also don't see them really jumping into their cars once again and rotating any further, because they would just immediately be picked up and taken out. So curious to see how good their position in the zone is right now, because if they can stay there for a couple of zones, it might actually not be that bad. But look at that. Both the buggy and the UAZ, they are both so in the open. They have 1 car, I think, within that compound, but I guess that's it. We're gonna see in the later stages how good that decision was. For now, they are safe. For now, they are in the zone. But yeah, here we see it. Ragnarok, perfect angle against both of those cars.
Don't expect that fight to happen now, but I think I expect it to happen in the next phase. And that's the thing. The question is Jordan... That's always the kind of dilemma. When do you take these fights? I think that's the most important thing, actually, in this 9-10 team lobby. Because if you know you have to fight them next phase, do you fight them when you have less space, or do you fight them when you have more space, but potentially give up on placement points? I feel like in their spot, if they know they can easily breach this building and they have an advantage to, maybe they should do it now. I feel like Jordan should do it now, actually. And they know it's a 3-man only over there. And that's probably as good as it gets in terms of other fights, but we'll see.
Yeah, they want to wait for these next 10 seconds to go by. They want to know if they actually have to fight this, or if potentially the circle goes super far away. I'm going to try to keep my eyes on that mini-map to see where that circle likely is going to move to. Yeah, they are both still in. They're both still in. We would have to ideally definitely know where these two teams are on the leaderboard right now, and then you could start all sorts of mathematical calculations if that fight would make sense, because it gives them a better edge at winning the game potentially, and given that they have to make 20 points anyways. No. But I think for now, both teams will just wait. when it comes down to the end, I think both teams will just wait until the next stage before they do anything.
Kazakhstan and Mongolia both will not have as good of a game as they probably would have hoped for. Look at this, Palestine. Man, I just gotta say it. Man, I love Palestine's playstyle. I know we've given them so much props today, but they are just fearless. They are absolutely fearless. No matter where you meet them, they will breach you. They will get into your dangerous space, and they will try to flush you out. This time around, it might not be perfect. Godless just got a pretty good angle on him. He will take him down as well, but he gets traded immediately. Dream with a nade from the very deep depths of the hillside just behind him. And you could see Palestine, they needed to get the second frag going as well. Otherwise, they just won't be able to make the cross. And the first one did go their way, but the second one didn't. So that just leaves Dream in a 1v1. Mongolia, never mind. He tried to run across, but he realized, no, I'm going to have to take this 1v1 first of all.
That's the point. It's a 1v1. And that means that also Mongolia only has Zyle in this situation. He's gonna get that next knock. It wasn't actually a 1v1. It was basically a 1v1 because the last player of Palestine is simply too far away to really jump into this situation. And if he had run across the bridge, he would have been immediately picked up by Zyle. So Mongolia still has a player alive. They have a 5 elimination point. So once again, making the best out of a horrible game. However, this is once again a scenario where they might drop off even further, and that would open the gates for Kazakhstan and I thought Kazakhstan would surpass Bahrain, but they might actually catch Mongolia in the end.
Yeah. Still not too... Honestly, I'm still not too convinced that Jordan made the right decision in not... Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like they should have played this more proactive. We'll have to wait and see. The circuit right now is still fairly big. There's still lots of options for it to shift their way. But then again, it's so much water in there. You can see the zone towards the bridge is still barely closing in. So it's probably, if I had to guess for an ending, probably going to end around somewhere to the east of Bahrain. And that's not going to make it easy for them. Because all the teams down south crossing upwards is so tough in this very specific instance. So yeah, I don't want to look ahead too far, but I think Bahrain is in a pretty good spot, and Kazakhstan really isn't, because yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. At the moment, I don't see them crossing it easily if Bahrain is able to grab all the space they can up there.
It depends on the circles, obviously, and it also depends on whether they will find a moment in time where the teams that could actually rain fire on them are occupied with other tasks ahead. Because it's a narrow road. On the other side of the road, there's immediately a little rock formation waiting where you can actually hide once again and then fight kind of well against the high ground. Fighting against the high ground is always not that great, but I'm going to tell you, with that zone shift, Kazakhstan is all of a sudden actually not in that bad position, because they can use that ridge towards the water to simply go further and further and further. The main issue there, however, is that Jordan is going to be able to probably take shots at them almost the entire time. From this angle, actually. Wow, production, thank you so much.
Yeah. Pretty good, isn't it? Well, yes, honestly, I didn't expect it to shift that far south again. I think we still have part of the island towards the southern part even inside. Even though that probably not going to matter to Mongolia. No, they should still go out fairly soon. That means lots of water, and yeah, maybe that ending zone is going to be different. I still think Kazakhstan is not in a good spot, because honestly, where do you walk? I think there is a way where if there's more than 2 teams playing around Jordan, there is a way for Kazakhstan to play just below the hillside, like on the street, but almost directly on the street, because no one can really look at each other. If someone is above you and someone is towards the ridgeline south of you, they will kind of cover each other, but no one can really look downwards towards the street. But only if there's 2 teams, and we'll have to wait and see how aggressive Tajikistan plays this against Jordan, or also Bahrain, how aggressive they played down towards the southern side, because there's still lots of teams around them. If they have to focus on all the teams around them first, then they can't look down towards the street, and maybe Jordan is going to be able to pick up the frags against Kazakhstan then. So dangerous scenario for Kazakhstan, despite them being in the circle, and a dangerous circle in general, I want to say. Very few positions outside of the hardcover spots and the compounds that we have that are able to be played.
Exactly. Which is... Well, there are a couple of hardcover spots, though, which will basically create the perfect endgame regarding what we started to discuss in the beginning of the map. It's gonna be who fights the best, unless it ends on the compound of Jordan. If it ends on the compound of Jordan, it's gonna be a gifted win. But if not, there's gonna be some heavy fighting going on. It's not even one of those very amazing rich after rich after rich ends of Miramar, where there are so many positions to give us these endings. You're right, there are one or two compounds that are really strong. And honestly, it's funny that we spoke about that this fight between Jordan and Tajikistan should have been taken earlier. And the way the shifts ended up happening, I would say, well, good for both teams that they didn't, right? Because they are both still in awesome positions. Yeah,
they absolutely are. I'm interested to see if Mongolia is actually going to make it across. Somehow, no one's really looking at it right now. I don't think Tajikistan even... No, they should know they're over there. But at least no one's actively looking for it. And if he makes it across, maybe there's some placement points to be gathered. Because as much as I know it's not going to enter the water, it could very much... With the amount of water we have in right now, it could very well still be at least close to the water in the next zone as well. I don't think it's going to... It doesn't necessarily... What I'm trying to say is it doesn't necessarily need to be a hard no shit at this given point in time. So we're going to have to wait and see. Tajikistan, do your mind, it has lost a player or two very early on in their compound breach. If that wouldn't have happened, I think it would have given them way bigger chances than they have right now. But with this circle shift, I'll take it all back. Very possible. Yeah. Only a Mongolia player and a duel right behind them.
What a demonic shift. This was the one time where many teams actually rooted for a hard shift, meaning a shift that has an edge very close to the edge of the previous shift. Because right now Jordan is just in... I sadly don't know that word in English, but do you know the English word for Tontauben schießen? Because that's what they're gonna do. They're just gonna shoot left and right. Everybody's gonna be open to them. It's just a shooting gallery. Exactly. It's just gonna be amazing for them. Because there are almost no spots that they can't see. Given how this next circle went, and that's quite crazy. I also think this is the latest stage of any game where we have seen 8 squads alive. It's no longer 8, it's 7 now, but it used to be 8 30 seconds ago. And I think stage 6 with 8 teams is something that we hadn't seen before today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm anxious to see how Bahrain is going to play this, because they need to leave the hillside for the very first time, and they haven't cleared out the east of it, which I thought they would. By the time they will have to leave, I thought they would have cleared the east side. They didn't by now. I think that's due to the fact that they lost 2 players already. They did have 3 earlier on, so the opportunity was there, but maybe even 3 wasn't quite enough for them, and they wanted to go for more placement kind of style. You can see Freiser is now splitting it. He's staying up top, while Pripot has already moved downwards. And the next team they will have to fight is going to be undoubtedly Uzbekistan. They've got a full 4-man. We've seen them struggle time and time again. They've lost players left, right, and center whenever it came down to the absolute wire. So maybe this time around, for the very first time, it's not going to happen. I'm cheering for them. We all want to see Uzbekistan with a good game to start things off. They have got the experience between the players as well. It just, unfortunately, wasn't good enough just yet.
I can actually confirm that it is clay pigeon shooting, by the way. So it's literally 1 by 1, the same words. And it is perfectly fitting for this situation in terms of them being so close to the water. They're just feeling as if they were clay pigeon shooting on a wonderful cruise ship right now. No harm coming their way, other than a little knock maybe. But even that knock is not scary because they can just go for the rest. Nobody's going to execute on them. Kazakhstan is never going to execute. It would be such a bad decision. At the same time, up north, nobody can execute because Uzbekistan is fighting Bahrain and they are also fighting a 3rd team in the mix. So Jordan is just out of harm's way and able to send out harm in everybody else's way.
Oh, yes. And I think Bahrain is going to be the first team to feel that force. Still standing strong. Fragger now has to be careful. Rotates down. Might say is going to pick him up. And that's one frag that just shouldn't have happened. We were talking about Uzbekistan throwing away some of these rounds, and this is the beginning of it. We've seen it before. It just cannot happen again. This would be so demoralizing for them if once again get brought 4 players into the late game scenario. They finally need to actually take advantage of it. No, there goes Tapok as well. Bahrain actually out of all the teams. Bahrain has found themselves this massive dip. A dip that Uzbekistan, with all the vehicles they've had, could have taken, honestly, I want to say hours ago. But they just didn't. That's the map knowledge Bahrain has. And the experience between these players coming off of absolutely the very top of the international EMEA scene. And look at the split as well. It's not going to get easier for Uzbekistan. Despite them having the man advantage, I'm not even sure if they know that Frizza is still up the hill and could shoot him in the back any second.
We can confirm that we once again have seen a central shift. And yes, any second, not only this fight is going to break out, it's going to be a lot more altercations that are going to happen. Oh! Hardboy just barely evading the end of his round, and that's so crucial at this point in time. Uzbekistan has no other choice than to play the road in this next zone, but they can't do it early. Kazakhstan is angled. The last Bahrainian player who has been taken out now, I think. Do they have another one? I think, yeah, they were eliminated. He's no longer a factor, but as we can see, Kazakhstan definitely still is. Puncher is trying to take out Fragger. But Puncher's in a really bad position.
Maybe he's got a chance at this one before someone else picks him up. And yes, he does. Fragger's going to take down Puncher. And Uzbekistan, despite all the challenges, makes it down with 3 players left standing. Ragnarok takes down the last player from Mongolia. It's been time for him to go out. And he's still somehow got a 4th place. Yeah. Despite him literally being the solo for the last 15 minutes. So crazy stuff coming out from Mongolia, making it across. And that means also one more frag going the way of Jordan. There's Uzbekistan, 3 players left alive. Has got the high ground for the time being.
Mongolia has been 4th for the 3rd map in a row now. And the only other 2 games they played, they won the game. So they've been first, 4th, and 4th, which is impressive by itself. If they hadn't so many elimination points on top of that. But let's focus on Uzbekistan for now, because we have given them quite a lot of criticism over the day. And I want to make sure that we focus when they are finally playing super productively, super proactively. 7 eliminations already. They have the high ground to play, and they have another elimination coming their way because Hardboy found another enemy easily to pick him up. Jordan, on the other hand, has been successful in knocking another player from Uzbekistan, and Clever wants to get the confirmations here, wants to save Ragnarok. This could all be over soon for Uzbekistan. Will they be able to defend? No, they are not. Both of them. Even Hardboy is being found, so it's only Fragger. He tries it with the shotgun. He's successful with it, and he wins potentially this fight. At least he turns it into a 1v1v1 for the win on this map. Will he be able to win this? Will he? No, he won't! He won't be able to! Fragger! Oh my god, in the end, just can't do it. And Jordan is still on the hunt for this win.
This is sensational. If he would have hit that first shot, Jordan would have been taken out in Uzbekistan, would have had another chance at this one. But instead, it's not going to happen. And it's going to be down to a 2v1 somehow. Joboda, we've talked about him. He's the sub for this lineup. Didn't make any move just yet. Very surprising to me, especially since he should have known there were 2 knocks against the Jordan players, and it was down to a 1v1. He couldn't really get there in time, unfortunately. Now, any second, he's going to be fighting against, I want to say 3 players, but he immediately gets that first knock. Lathe goes down. Ragnarok is known as well. He's got the first aid, but he's only got 1 of them. I think Ragnarok hasn't even got a single one. So that might just give him the health advantage, but he needs to hit the shots as well. He's got the smoke to play with. He sees Miracle. Maybe he can take him down through the smoke. Not just yet. It is back to a 2v1.
And that 2v1 should be more than enough, but still, we have a chance that the player who got the first 2 eliminations in this game might actually be the one who gets the last 2. Joe Bobo, the one that we didn't even see playing today, might be able to create a miracle. Is he able? He gets it! The 1v2 in the end! First 2 eliminations, last 2 eliminations. That fits together perfectly for this wonderful winner.
Oh my goodness, Tajikistan somehow close out this game, and I thought he missed this opportunity, this window of opportunity, this small one, 15 seconds, where all the rest of the players got rest back to life, and at one point all three were standing when he somehow hits the shots, and then in the end the 1v2 with the UMP, my goodness, as he just carries Tajikistan to this win, and you can see 18 frags, that is something that they so desperately need. We're going to take a look at the standings, but first of all, the highlights once again for you, ladies and gentlemen, while we make sure to calm off this high that we've just seen. 1v2, that is so rare to begin with, and then in such a crucial stage of the tournament as well for Tajikistan to close out this one. Man, that must feel good as a player.
That must feel so good. I saw Jordan printed basically in high resolution on this chicken dinner all the way. I saw them winning this so easily, but hell no, not with Tajikistan, who I never saw winning a game today, to be very honest. I just want to be honest here, but man, that last spray transfer was just perfect, perfect. Starting out the map strong, ending the map strong. That was just amazing to witness, and that will bring you exactly what you need when you're currently rather low on the leaderboard. That's exactly what you need. Yeah. That moment will just vitalize the entire squad.
Couldn't agree more. More shots, as we saw from Uzbekistan up there. I felt like Uzbekistan, I don't want to say should, but due to the fact that his enemy missed so many shots. I'm going to take a look at who that actually was. Okay, so it was Miracle. He missed so many shots with that shotgun. And also, you had the opportunity to go for the first aid. He was safe behind the car. You had your opportunity to go for the first aid, and then afterwards, he probably would have had the health advantage as well. But that wouldn't even have mattered if he would have just hit the shotgun shot. So I feel like Uzbekistan, perfect situation to just showcase what they've been struggling with. Right?
Again.
Closing out the most important fights in this game. They had the opportunity again for the third time in a row. They were in a prime spot. They had the man advantage. They fought themselves in so very nicely, but they just give it up because they can't hit that one single shot that was needed. And ultimately, I mean, also we got to give it to Tajikistan. Wow. Just wow.
All right,
what a game. What a game.
What a game.
Wow.
Honestly, what a game. And we were both hyped for Miramar. We were both hyped for it. We both said we are especially hyped for the map because these situations occur on the map, right? These close quarter fights, multiple teams, little room to work with, but a lot of safe room to work with. And therefore, we got exactly what we asked for, and we got exactly what we wanted. We just got these amazing fights. And I agree, Uzbekistan, they could have had it again. It's the third time. I just don't want to bring up this point again because I want the Uzbekian people to still like us. So let's focus on Tajikistan instead. They got not only the win, but also the match MVP. And Jobobo with his 6 eliminations, once again starting out the game strong and then getting another 2-piece in the end. Just perfect. Just perfect. And yes, if you think about the other names in this lobby, that was just a masterclass by him.
Yeah, brilliant. Also, I always said Jodobo, so I'm very sorry in case you hear this, Jodobo. I am very sorry. I don't have your name on my list. So there's that. Tajikistan was pronounced with a different roster, and he just makes it work as a stand-in anyways. With I want to say not necessarily a super experienced roster, but they have players like Anonym, who's played in the PIMA South, Central and South Asia spring season this year. So he's obviously able to hold his ground, despite not maybe being the most experienced player even in that roster in and of itself. So shout out to Jobobo. I think amazing so far, not only with that first 2 initial frags, he was the first one to Tajikistan in general in this round to find 2 frags, but also with that 1v2, I gotta look back at it as well again, because that's so rare that we see a 1v2 going the way of the solo player if both these players are straight up sprinting at you. But he played it perfectly with the rich line he had. He kind of tried to isolate the right player by walking downwards towards the left side while shooting the first one. So unbelievable. 877 damage on top of these 6 eliminations as well. Goes to show you these weren't kill steals. Not at all. These were actual eliminations he had to put up and he had to fight for, and he did.
It's highly likely that he could have actually had another elimination. So 877 damage gives room for actually 7 eliminations, I would say. If you're really efficient and never shooting at anyone that you would never be able to flush, you could even get 8 squeezed into that. But yeah, I agree. This was just perfection. 877 damage is what several teams will not deal in some of these games. So yes, perfectly done. Let's compare actually Tajikistan and Uzbekistan in this situation. Tajikistan 8 eliminations. Uzbekistan actually extremely elimination heavy in this game, which gives me hope for them because fights were what they struggled with in the first 2 games that they could have both taken down. This time they fight well, but somehow they still don't get the win in the end. But nonetheless, this will at least keep them theoretically in the run, while they will need a really strong Tuesday to make it happen.
Oh yes, they yeah, it's not gonna happen today anymore, unfortunately. It's just not gonna be enough time to make something happen. We only have 2 Miramar rounds. We've seen the first one, and it leaves only 1 more for this Group A. Do be reminded, we have 3 more days of action here at the Asian and Oceanic qualifier for the IESF World Esports Championship. The top 2 of Group A will be going to Riyadh, and the top 3 of Group B will do the same to represent their nations at the official World Esports Championship. So, massive stakes at hand. That's where the big money is being brought out by IESF as well in Riyadh. So most of these teams will be aiming at their qualification spot, if not everyone.
And most of them will be aiming to obviously have a trip of a lifetime on top of a tournament of a lifetime. So yeah, that's definitely something. I also think that a lot of these players will take great pride in representing their nation rather than their organization, while obviously the latter is also amazing, but it's just a different experience. It's just something that comes around even rarer than having a tournament where you represent your organization, which obviously is a bit more common. So I love these formats a lot. I actually enjoy them quite a bit. Let's have a quick look at these stats, and they once again show perfectly that this was once again a very fight-heavy game, more than a utility-heavy game. We can compare it to game number 2 and 3, which actually had a lot more smokes and nades thrown than game 4 and 5, which were a little bit more combat-heavy. Also, very early on this time, we had the fight from Mongolia against Bahrain. We had the fight from Mongolia once again against Palestine, which was amazing to watch.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would like to point that out again, actually. I also really love their playstyle. Palestine is bringing us a lot of fun to watch.
It's the most dangerous playstyle in terms of how big the risk affinity is. Like, yeah, first of all, it's tough to play because there's so many stuff that can go wrong. It's always when you play proactive and you play overly aggressive, there's more stuff that can go wrong than just playing defensively and playing for zone and stuff like that, which is why I also always prefer to play zone because it's easier to some degree. But if you do have the individuals for it, it's probably the playstyle that in the end gives you more potential. And yeah, so far, Palestine has shown that potential. Sure, they haven't won a round yet, but they've always, whenever we've seen them on the stream, shown us that they just want to get right into the action, and they most of the times do the correct decisions as individuals as well. They realize that they can play aggressive because there's more space around them. There's less teams that can third-party them, and they win the aim fights as well. So honestly, so far, the only thing that's missing is staying alive as 4.
Yeah.
Whenever they fight, they somehow tend to get into these aggressive fights when they've already lost the play to begin with. If they would pick these fights more carefully, I feel like they would have had a way better shot of qualifying. So far, it's getting into a dangerous territory where, yes, we probably will see another couple of good games, but is it going to be enough for a top 2? I don't think so.
It's exactly the point. I think so too. I think they are really good at playing proactively, and I think playing proactively, if you can do it, is actually the right way, because you bring the challenge and you bring the issue into the hands of your enemy rather than having it yourself the entire time and having to solve problems the entire time. But the problem is, the more proactive you play, the more faultless you have to perform the entire time. And if you play proactively again and again and again, you will be prone to mistakes again and again and again. And that's sadly what happened to them. And if they would play it just a bit better, they would probably just shoot their way to an entire lobby, potentially creating the most elimination strong game that we've seen today, which is, I think, 22 points or 12 eliminations at this point. There's actually room for a 13 elimination game, 13 or 14 elimination game. I mean, that's half of the lobby almost, but I still think it would be possible.
Could be possible, definitely. Quick shout out to everyone in the chat who's been at Romania for the last IESF Esports World Championship. massive event at this point. I'm yeah, probably the craziest event I've ever been with. Massive crowd, and obviously one of the reasons why this event carries so much prestige, why some of these players want to qualify under any and every circumstance, because you always know IESF events are going out with a big bang. So yeah, greetings to all of you guys that I've met. I've seen a couple in the chat. There's a couple of guys that have been involved with PUBG Mobile, especially at the last IESF World Esports Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going into the last Miramar game shortly. Quickly want to touch on predictions again, because I know these have been kind of changing throughout the entirety of the day. I started off saying Kazakhstan was going to have a big chance. Now, I don't think we've seen them in the top 4 a single time, despite them being in the top 3 almost I think, except for the last 2 games. But after that, I think they've been in the top 3 overall standings the entire time, just based off of how many frags they've gathered. Do you agree with me that if they don't get a win today and they start off weak tomorrow, maybe it's already done and dusted for them because just of how strong Mongolia and Bahrain are playing?
Yeah, I would add on top of that, if they don't get a win today and if they start out weak tomorrow, it's most likely done and dusted for everyone, because then it's just going to be the other 2. I am not certain how many points Jordan and Lebanon, I would say, have right now. Maybe also Uzbekistan. I need to see the overall leaderboard before making a final assumption. But it's probable. It might be that it's not enough. I mean, both Bahrain and Mongolia actually didn't get too many points in this game, right? So they will have lost a little bit of their edge point-wise against everybody else, but they had a huge gap before, right? It was huge. So they will probably still be 15, 20 points ahead, but 15 to 20 points is actually surpassable on one individual day. I just don't see them stopping their dominant performance, and I just think this was an extremely difficult circle to play from the outside. I think if there's a game that these 2 teams, meaning Bahrain and Mongolia, can fail a little bit and they still got points, it was this one, because the circle couldn't have been further away from their loot spot. The circle shifts couldn't have been more central, which is always highly favoring the teams that are already there. Hard shifts open the opportunities for teams from the outside. Central shifts always benefit the teams that are already there. So this was one of those games where even the better teams can just give away a couple of points sometimes. But once there's a bit more of a conservative round again, I'm sure we will see them popping off again.
I'm looking at the chat. It is heartwarming to see all of you guys supporting your teams. So keep on spamming these flags. Yeah, once again, we had a moment in time where Turkmenistan, despite them not performing miraculously so far, let's be honest, they haven't performed so far. The whole chat was full of Turkmenistan. So shout out to the whole fan base. I said at the very beginning, Turkmenistan does have its PUBG Mobile fan base, despite them, as I said, not having the biggest international players, or I do believe not anyone who's ever qualified for a global championship. But you know what the future brings. We all don't know what the future holds. So maybe Turkmenistan is going to be the region of the future. So shout out to all of you guys. Obviously Uzbekistan as well. I've seen you guys. Bahrain, even lots of people from Bahrain being in the chat supporting. But yeah, interesting that you say that about the last game. I wanted to touch on that. I didn't forget it. Very tough circle, especially since that region in general, not even the shifts themselves, but the region in general is one where there's almost exclusively hardcover spots to be played, except for phase 8 onwards, which you only really get into if you have a hardcover spot to begin with. And if that is gone, and we saw that from Uzbekistan, we saw that from Kazakhstan especially, if that is gone, you're going to have a hard time. So I couldn't agree more with your analysis that round in particular might not be the best indication of whether or not some particular teams are slowing down. And I mean, especially Bahrain and Mongolia. So yeah, we're going to have to wait and see.
I would just say that's a round that comes with a little bit of a random factor that you can never negate when thinking about a battle royale game played in an esports setting. You will always have across 12 maps 1 or 2 maps that play themselves a little bit. Jordan was always gonna be first, second, or third in this map. If they actually managed not to get first, second, or third on this map, that would have been such a huge fail that I think those players would have never been here in this tournament. So that's just not gonna happen. The fact that Tajikistan picks up 18 points and wins it. It's just crazy. It was so well played. Uzbekistan, once again, a little bit sad, but still, they picked up 14 points again. They will always wonder, and it's 9 p.m. in Uzbekistan right now, so they will probably go to bed rather soon after this. Once they lay in bed, they will wonder, I guess, until they fall asleep, what could we have done today? We could have had 30 points more easily, but still, they are in the race. They are in the run with these 14 points. And it's crazy that Mongolia still got 9 points here, by the way. It's crazy. Bahrain, 6 as well. It felt as if they were taken out almost immediately compared to the rest of the lobby, but they got so many eliminations again that they still sort of played a role points-wise.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The fact that Mongolia, even this round, a round where the circles continuously shifted away from them, they had to start from the very deep southern part, even because they didn't find an entry, still pick up 9 points is amazing. Same goes for Uzbekistan. I honestly didn't expect them to have that many eliminations in the end. They actually had the most amount of eliminations out of all these teams that we saw in match number 5. So for them to still pick up as many points as they have, despite kind of throwing away the round again, is miraculous. So I'm going to have to wait and see for the overall standings. I'm so excited. I want to see if anyone has still got a chance to catch Bahrain and Mongolia at this point. I think Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan still do. Kazakhstan, yes, only 5 points, but I think it's going to be enough to at least be able to close the gap with a good game. I think that's the very least they should be able to. But yeah, once again, we're going to have the overall standings ready in just a minute. I'm going to have to wait and see. Also, Tajikistan, did you remember where they were before? I think it was like 6th or 7th. I believe I said with 16 points, they are already almost overperforming. And now they're actually, the next game that I say that, they're actually winning it. So what are they now? If they've already been overperforming before that, I don't even know what that is at this point. They're exceeding every expectation, in my opinion.
There will be a gap. I don't know if that gap is going to be so huge because Jordan also now has won a game and placed 2nd in another one, right? They won the first Erangel game. So, oh no, I'm sorry. They actually won the 2nd Erangel game. So they won game number 3. I don't know where Jordan is going to be placed. So I think Uzbekistan is definitely still in the race. Kazakhstan will 100% be still in the race. So Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and Jordan, I would say, are likely the 3 teams that have the best chances. And you just brought up Tajikistan. They might also have good points.